The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down. Sometimes sections of Scripture are used so often, and certainly at times of loss, and certainly times of, just thinking about God's presence. Sometimes they become so familiar that we stop to hear the magnitude and the power of every phrase and every line and the movement of God's Spirit. The Lord is our shepherd. He makes me lie down. This is what Jesus said. He used everyday images that people could understand. Jesus is the good shepherd. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. Jesus went on to say, I am the good shepherd. The sheep know my voice, and they follow me. The Lord is my shepherd. In this psalm, David, the shepherd king, has two prevailing images. One is the sheep, the herd, out there in the pastures, in his growing formative years. Think about how God never wastes anything in our life. For David, when he was out in the field, guiding sheep and providing protection for them and being responsible, not falling asleep, right? He cared for the flock. He was responsible for that which God had entrusted him. He had no idea that later those same skills would be put into other areas of his life where he would be the king of Israel. But much of his formative years were times of being alone, time of being with the sheep, working hard, right? And also finding time to be with God and finding his strength and presence. The Lord is my shepherd. While I'm the shepherd of these sheep, David's praying, the Lord is my shepherd. He's the one who cares for me while I'm caring for all the other things around me. The Lord is the one who's providing for me and watching over me. And so that's one of the prevailing images of those formative years of his life. And towards the end of the psalm is the royal responsibility he had to be the king of Israel, right? And I can't imagine the number of banquets that he had, the fine feast. But he also had the pressure of leading, and there were enemies, and there were, when you're in that high seat of responsibility and power, there's always somebody who wants to take you down. And he says, the Lord provides for me a banquet before me, even in the presence of my enemies. When there are those, the Lord still provides for me and nourishes me. The Lord is my shepherd, David says. The Lord has given us a rhythm of life. And I hope that we learn to be productive, to work hard. I hope that we learn how to have fun and to enjoy the blessings of life. I pray that we would know who we are spiritually and how wonderfully loved we are by God. The Lord has given us a tremendous rhythm of life. In the Ten Commandments, we know that the Lord actually had a command, Sabbath rest, because people sometimes don't know how to order their lives well. And because the Lord loves us, he wants us to walk within the rhythm of the way he created us. And as we've often said, the Lord is always on time. Sometimes our time is a little messed up. This week, many of our students are either going to college for the first time or going back to school. And this is my prayer, is that they would learn how to manage their time. Because going to school is a wonderful opportunity. But you know that you have to be keep above things, right? If you're a procrastinator and you leave everything till last, it's going to create a lot of pressure. And you have a lot of time. You have the same amount of time that everybody has every day of their life. But how to work in the rhythm of working hard, studying hard when you have to, and enjoying appropriately the fun things that you get to do, right? But also getting physical rest, because sometimes if you keep going and going, you're going to wind up somewhere during the semester with a cold or the flu or something if you overexert yourself, right? So working and walking in the rhythm of life, God cares about you. The Lord is our shepherd, right? And he wants us to follow his lead throughout the course of our living, day by day, and in the big picture of our life. There's a destination, a pathway that he's sending us on. He wants us to be successful at the end of our life. He doesn't want us just to burn out, but to thrive and to live. The Lord is my shepherd. So he talks about Sabbath. The Sabbath rest is actually redundant. Sabbath is rest, right? This idea of finding the appropriate walking and living, when to work hard and when to stop, when to enjoy and when to rest. And so I want you to think, even Jesus models for us how to live life in God's rhythm. And I want you to think about different ways that we somehow get weary or tired or exhausted. There's physical exhaustion, right? If you've been on the go, if you've been working hard, if you've been, expending physical energy, you're going to get physically tired. Isaiah talks, even young men fall and get tired and weary. Now, we're all different ages in this room. And if you remember when you were the little kids' ages, you seem to have inordinate amount of energy, don't you? They can move and shake and wiggle and never stop and never sing. And of course, eventually they collapse, right? But there seems to be boundless energy. How many times have you watched a child and said, boy, I wish I had that kind of energy? As you get older, physically, right, you begin to change. That same kind of physical energy, you have to rest differently. I've always enjoyed sports. I love to be active. I try to stay active. But one of the things that I realized is I used to have first, second, third, fourth, fifth gear, when you were tired, just kick it into another gear. I was playing touch football with my boys and my son-in-law, who are all these crazy health nuts. They're in the gym all the time and active guys. And I was running out of gas big time. And my son Doug, who I still love, said this: Dad, you used to be a torch. Now you're a crock pot. But I'm simmering still, right? Physical energy, we grow weary and tired, right? Even Jesus got physically tired. One of my favorite stories is the disciples are out in a boat, right? And it says that in very graphic terms or literal terms, Mark pictures what it was like. Jesus was tired at the end of a day, and there was a pillow in the front of the boat. And Jesus is exhausted, and he's sleeping in the boat. And a storm rises up. Now, we could spiritualize it, saying that he was so spiritually at peace, and when they were all upset. But I think he was so tired and wiped out that the boat was shaking, and he was just sleeping. And I pray, we have a problem in our day with insomnia. If you would read the studies on Americans' sleep patterns, maybe sometimes we're not getting enough physical exercise, but maybe sometimes we don't really know how to find physical rest. What they say, when you sleep, it's like your computer goes back to reboot, right? And to restore. And so we go through times where we need to find physical rest, right? Emotional stress. Sometimes just being around people or dealing with the thoughts and the emotions that we have both within ourselves, as we are always so social, right? Particularly today, whether you're around a lot of people, social media. I was talking to somebody earlier today, how can we can't even take a walk today without, right, carrying our device with us, right? But even Jesus grew people weary. Don't get me wrong, he loved people. But sometimes he had enough of us, right? And one of my favorite stories in Luke is where Jesus was with the crowd. And of course, they had agendas and needs. And this literally says he slipped out the back of them. Like, I've had enough of you all. I love you all. But I just need some quiet space. Right? So sometimes we need to turn off the emotional thought process that we go through and the relational dynamics and connectivity that we have with everybody, and find some space to remember who we are and get our thoughts straight. There are times that we go through spiritual weariness. There's sometimes as your pastor, I preach all the time and I teach all the time and I love it. But there's sometimes I don't have anything else to say. I've said just about everything I have, at least for the moment, until I hear again from God. One of my favorite times really is when I carve out some time to think about our preaching and where we're going to go. Sometimes it's in my office, sometimes it's behind the lawnmower, sometimes it's when I'm driving someplace. And it's like, Lord, who am I? What's going on? What's happening in the life of the church? What's happening in the world around us? Lord, spiritually, what's going on? Now, the reality is, at any given moment, if you look at your life, you can be spiritually weary or tired or physically tired or emotionally worn out. Sometimes they might be all three together. But to be aware of what's going on with you, right? I watch how sometimes people don't know how to rest well. So it's like you've been really going at it, and you've been working hard and you've had a lot to do. And so your plan for vacation is have a type A kind of vacation that's really active, right? And you come back from vacation and you were tired before you went and you're more tired after you get back and you wonder why you're so tired. Let's figure that out, right? Or that you're spiritually needing to be loved by the Lord and fed and things. And so what you do is, rather than just going away that you can hear the Lord or do something that spiritually renews you, however the Lord is teaching you to reconnect with Him, you'll go and be with a bunch of people. And then you'll wonder why you're still spiritually hungering, because you haven't done the spiritual renewal and journey to rediscover that walk. Think about it. So sometimes we do the opposite of what we need to do as the Lord would care for us in our life. So how are you this morning? Maybe you have lots of energy. Maybe you've gone through times of respite and renewal and Sabbath, and you're pretty excited. You're ready for the fall. Everybody ready for the fall? Oh, I know a lot of people are like, oh no, the fall's coming, right? It's like, it's like the great train, right? You hope there's light, So to understand what's happening with you and wherever the journey of your life, as the Lord is your shepherd leading you through the walk of your life. So what kind of Sabbath do you need? What kind of healing and renewal and restoration are required for where you are? The Lord knows what you need. And the Lord wants to provide it for you. And so begin to ask the Lord, Lord, what's happening with me? Or I know what's happening with me. Lord, help me to find the resources that I need. And I've learned in my life, and I'm learning still, at any one given moment, it might be one or all of these things. And I try, with the Lord's help, to find that kind of renewal and rest that the Lord provides. I like this cartoon. I'm already feeling like I'm tired for tomorrow. Right? The Lord is my shepherd. He makes me to lie down. So there's this rhythm of Sabbath and rest and walking, being productive, enjoying life, resting, restoring. The Lord is my shepherd. He makes me lie down. Sometimes you have to give kids a timeout, don't you? Think about it. Sometimes they get so out of sorts. Like, would you stop? Now, sometimes they crash, don't they? You will see they'll crash and burn. My granddaughter Peyton, who is the middle of Beverly's girls, she is so funny. She is Miss Independent. And at around 7:30, she'll announce, I'm tired. Now she's 6 years old. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Easter Sunday, we had been a little busy, and of course she was all dressed up for church, and there was all kinds of things going on. And we went home, and we were ready to take the family pictures. You know, there was have to have that picture moment. Moms and grandmoms love those kinds of moments. And next thing we know, Peyton comes down. She's in her pajamas. I'm tired. I'm going to bed, right? She has a switch. We went on vacation. We had to learn. We would, you're eating dinner a little bit later. If you ate dinner after 6:30, you might as well forget it. We slept in a lot of restaurants with Peyton. He makes me lie down. Sometimes we crave that kind of rest, don't we? And restoration in our life. Gordon MacDonald is a nationally known leader, pastor, writer. He is now the chancellor of Denver Theological Seminary, author of many, many books, a wonderful Christian man. Gordon MacDonald spoke at a conference for pastors in Florida called Strong in the Lord. You know, how do we remain strong and healthy and vital in the Lord in our walk? He was talking to leaders who had responsibility and were on the go all the time. And you know, how do we remain strong and vibrant in our faith? But in this this wonderful conference where there were hundreds and hundreds of pastors, Gordon MacDonald told the story of his own life. And he preached this wonderful message on the 23rd Psalm with these words, "He makes me lie down." And what he said was that if we do not learn to walk in the rhythm that God has for us of Sabbath rest, of being productive and enjoying life, and then coming to Sabbath, if we don't learn to walk with that rhythm easily with the Lord, there are times, because He loves us, He makes us to lie down. In other words, you're going to lie down now. Enough. Stop. No more. If you don't stop, you're going to crash and burn. If you don't rest, you won't be vital, you won't live. And we know that people do literally work themselves to death. A couple years ago, now it's hard to believe, Debbie's sister, who many of you know prayed for us during a time, but Rhonda, at 59 years old, just suddenly her heart stopped and she died. Debbie only has one sister. It was quite an emotional time for us as a family. Rhonda was a brilliant person, always on the go, physically fit. One of the top women in Philadelphia banking, started the first bank in the United Kingdom for over 100 years. She traveled with pretty powerful people. She rested, she would go on vacation, but it seemed like she would never stop. And who knows physically what happened to her. But literally one night, after a bunch of board meetings, she was on the board of a hospital. She was with some friends, and she went up to rest. And she stopped. Her heart. Literally, we talked to her doctor, who knew her very, very well, and says, "I just don't know what happened." He makes me lie down. If we don't learn to live in the natural rhythms of life that God gives us, there are times out of His love and mercy and grace that He makes us lie down. So Gordon MacDonald told the story of his own life. Gordon is a brilliant theologian, author. I mean, you look at his life, he's accomplished a great deal. But he shared very vulnerably that like we all have personalities, and that's good that we have personalities, and it's bad that we have personalities. But Gordon's a very competitive person. And one of the things he confessed that he battled was pride. He was a driven man who had high expectations, high goals, was very competitive, and liked to win. His success was his downfall. Doesn't that make sense? His success was his downfall. Now, it's good to be successful, don't get me wrong. But if you don't know how to walk in rhythm with the Lord, your success can become greed and arrogance and pride. Gordon knew the Lord. It wasn't that he didn't know the Lord. It wasn't that he didn't love Jesus. But he somehow was forgetting how to walk with the Lord and to find that rhythm of life. So he was always driven for the Lord, for the Lord. Well, he thought for the Lord. It was really for him. Right? And he shared 3 times in his life where his pride and arrogance got away from him. And out of God's love and mercy and grace, he made him lie down. One he shared was early in his life where, he had gone to seminary and he'd done well, and he went out to this little church, and the little church could not meet his expectations. The people just weren't good enough or fast enough or, spiritual enough or whatever it is. And pretty soon he kept driving them and driving himself to the point where they could not stand each other anymore. And finally, after several years of this kind of in-your-face ministry, now there were times, maybe people weren't moving fast enough. Maybe there were problems. But it was how he dealt with all of that, right? And finally, the ministry just fell apart because they and he were not working together with the Lord's rhythm of life. And he said, I lost that first ministry. It was heartache. I had high expectations. I thought the Lord would, just keep blessing and blessing and blessing. He said, but he made me lie down. I told another time, in the mid time of his life, again, he was very successful. He came through that experience and went right back on. He was a hard worker. And he was up for a national position, one where he really thought that he had done all the work, and he kind of deserved a very important position. In fact, he thought he had all the qualifications, and he was the best candidate for him, and how could God choose anybody any better than him? And how could this agency pick anybody smarter or more competent than him? So he went into this process well assured that he had earned the privilege and right to lead this national ministry. And he went through all the interviews and was just waiting for the call to say that, Gordon, you are the man. Only to get the call as, Gordon, we chose somebody else. Gordon said, I was so mad, I slammed down the phone. I said, how stupid are you people? Because you don't know how great I am. Right? You don't know that person will never do as good a job as I will. Oh, he went through a great time of just being let down. The Lord makes me lie down. As he went on through this message, many people were resonating with it because we've all gone through our own personality kind of journeys in life. And then he finally told the most revealing story. He said, I got married early. My wife was wonderful. She went through all the ups and downs of ministry. She was that constant. But in my pride and arrogance, in the midst of all the drivenness of my life, he said, pretty soon my wife wasn't good enough. And I went out and I had an affair. And I thought I was getting away with it for a while until the Lord made me lie down. Well, you can imagine he was a very known person. Things, as quickly as things had risen, everything came crashing down. Marriage fell apart, ministry fell apart, life fell apart, embarrassed, broken. And he said, out of God's love for me, he made me lie down. Enough. No more. So if we don't learn to live in the normal rhythms of life that the Lord gives us, there are times out of his great love for us, so that we do not kill ourselves, that the Lord will say, stop, rest, lie down. Now, your story is not Gordon MacDonald's or my story. You know what I'm saying? We all have our own story, don't we? his challenge was pride and arrogance and drivenness. Right? Maybe yours is worry and anxiety. My mother is a wonderful person, wonderful Christian person. She's always been a worrier. I love my mom to death, but she is worried about everything. She's 86 years old now, and she's worried about 86 years of her life. So we were all coming in to see her. And she can't cook like she used to cook, and she can't do a lot of things. She wants to see everybody, but she gets overwhelmed when everybody comes home. And she still feels like she needs to take care of everybody. So she starts to worry about where everybody's going to sleep and where are people going to eat. And in reality, she doesn't really take care of that at all anymore. So we were all coming in, and she says, well, I'm worried. And I said, Mom, why are you worried? Oh, I'm not worried. I'm just concerned. Oh, no, you're just worried. Right? So maybe it is the worry that you carry, the anxiety that you carry, that, sometimes maybe it's control. Everything has to work the way I want it to, and I'm trying to organize my life. I remember meeting with this young couple years ago who, were getting married, and I asked them about, what they thought the next couple years of their married life might look like, and they gave me their 5-year plan in great detail. In great detail. And I said to them, well, what are you going to do when it doesn't work out exactly how you have it planned? Oh, and they were like, oh, no, Pastor, it's going to work out just like that. I'm going, good luck with that. Right? So I don't know what it is in your personality, in your walk with the Lord, whether you're a driven person or maybe you need a wind to pick you up and get you going. But there are times out of the Lord's love for you, if you do not, in the course of your walk with Him, learn to find that rhythm, that He may make you lie down. So my encouragement to you as we face the fall is that you might look at your life. Where are you at physically? Where are you at emotionally? Where are you at spiritually? Allow the Lord to restore you, right? Do the appropriate kind of work. If you're spiritually tired, you feel like God's far away, that you're lonely, you just don't know who you are anymore, then come talk with me or find some friends. Do some things that will, take some time. And, sometimes it could be as simple as going someplace and doing nothing and say, Lord, help me. It could be as simple as that. And all those other areas of relationship and emotion, right, and our physical strength, He makes me to lie down. Leading by the still water, restoration of our souls, paths of righteousness, strength to walk through the valley, relief from our fears and worries. David proclaims, He restores my soul. So as we approach the fall, the sheep, right? I pray that you follow the shepherd and not the herd. You'll find His leading. The calendar will drive you, work will drive you, school will drive you. Your expectations, the world's perspective, all these things will be the herd that might try to capture the rhythm of your life. But follow the shepherd. I am the good shepherd. The shepherd knows his sheep. He lays down his life for his sheep, for you, for me. Walk with Him. He makes me lie down. Would you pray with me?